Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 139 based on novel. So let's start. Here, it is a world of white fog. The milky white fog is like a cloud in the space. When you look at it with your naked eye, you can only see the field of vision within a mere 10 feet. At this time, in this cloud-shrouded world, somewhere, the milky fog suddenly fluctuated, just like the originally calm water surface, which was suddenly thrown into a boulder and violently stirred. The clouds dispersed everywhere. Soon, a figure wrapped under the black robe appeared in this space very abruptly. At first, the black-robed figure closed his eyes and seemed to be waiting for something. After a few breaths, the figure's closed eyes trembled gently and opened slowly. Here is. The eyebrows under the black robe were deeply wrinkled together. Xiao Yan looked around the world around him with vigilant eyes, and a dignified look gradually poured into his eyebrows. It seems that I have entered a certain array. Damn it, I didn't expect to encounter the array just after I came in. It's really hard to break through this relic. His face was slightly ugly and scolded in his heart. Immediately, Xiao Yang's eyes that had just opened were slowly closed at the moment. At the same time, in the center of his eyebrows, the vast soul power also spread out rapidly at this moment, spreading rapidly in this white world. In the face of this situation, if you change to an ordinary person, you will inevitably start in the direction you think is right. However, whether Xiao Yang is right. If he doesn't know the pattern in the array, he will start rashly. If he doesn't know the way out, he will only make himself deeply trapped and unable to extricate himself. Once he gets into that situation, no one can be saved. Therefore, for the sake of insurance, Xiao Yang decided to explore this array with his soul power first. If he could take this opportunity to find a way out, it would be better. Sure enough, just a few minutes after Xiao Yang's soul power spread out, a faint breath quickly returned along the direction of Xiao Yang's soul power spread out. Almost at the same time, Xiao Yang's closed eyes suddenly opened. A pair of painted black eyes quickly flashed over Xiao Yang's pale cheeks. Looks are associated with a little recovery. Yes, here it is. At the moment when his eyes opened, Xiao Yang uttered a surprise cry. Immediately this time, Xiao Yang no longer hesitated. His body turned. Facing the direction of the strange smell just now, the soles of his feet gently stepped on the void under his feet, and the milky clouds rose. Xiao Yang's body was like a sharp arrow through the clouds at this moment, but in a blink of an eye, it has flown hundreds of feet. In the twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang had flown for a quarter of an hour in the rising space of clouds and fog. In the void, Xiao Yang was flying forward rapidly, but I don't know when, a face under Xiao Yang's black robe could not help but frown slightly. At the same time, in Xiao Yang's heart, a feeling of doubt also rose gradually. In the previous exploration, Xiao Yang's soul power only spread out for a few minutes, but he has found the exit of the strange array. However, at the moment, Xiao Yang has been flying in that direction for a quarter of an hour. Nevertheless, Xiao Yang has never met the so-called array exit from beginning to end. Hiss. Suddenly, Xiao Yang's body, which had been flying forward rapidly, suddenly stopped on the void. At the same time, a face covered by black robes suddenly became dignified. Xiao Yang didn't doubt the exit of the array he had noticed earlier. With his soul power, although the array was really clever and terrible, since she had caught the defect, there must be no mistake. But what surprised Xiao Yang was that he clearly flew in the right direction for a long time, but why didn't he see the exit? It's reasonable, I should have already passed the exit. No, there's something strange in this place. You can't be careless. With a secret way in his heart, Xiao Yang suddenly felt bad. He moved and wanted to rush forward. Now that we are trapped in the array and have no way to find, we might as well move forward decisively. Perhaps we can win a glimmer of vitality by doing so. But just as Xiao Yangang was about to leave, in this space, a light voice that made people smell and move suddenly came. Brother Xiao Yang. When the sound came into Xiao Yang's ears, Xiao Yang's body, which had just moved, immediately fixed in place. A pair of dark eyes opened like a copper bell in an instant. Even his whole body couldn't help but tremble at this moment. On his face, there was a deeply unbelievable look, and at this time, the familiar cry sounded again. Compared with just now, this time, it seemed to be right next to his ear. Brother Xiao Yang. At the moment when the cry fell, Xiao Yang, who stood on the void, suddenly turned back. His eyes were already congested. Then the next moment, sure enough, a familiar beautiful shadow was standing in front of Xiao Yang at the moment. Seeing this beautiful shadow, Xiao Yang was stunned at first, and then his whole body could not help shaking again. Immediately, the emotion in his heart was like the yellow river burst its banks. He suddenly hugged the pretty person in front of him tightly in his arms. The yearning at the bottom of his heart could no longer be suppressed at this moment. Zana. Because of missing, Xiao Yang's voice sounded hoarse, and the girl tightly hugged in her arms also showed a warm and moving sweet smile on her cheeks. Then she gently pushed Xiao Yang away, and a pair of bright beautiful eyes looked at Xiao Yang in front of her for a long time. Until after a good film, Zana said slowly, "Brother Xiao Yang, come on, let's go home." Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang was stunned and immediately asked softly, "Home? Home where?" It seems that she heard something funny. Zana's sweet cheek became more beautiful when she smiled. Her white jade hand gently stroked Xiao Yang's cheek and whispered, "Brother Xiao Yang, what's the matter with you? Of course we're going back to the Xiao family in Wutan City." Hearing this, Xiao Yang's face seemed to think of something, but then he couldn't help asking again, "Well, what about the teacher? Has he been doing well for so many years?" "Heh." Xiao Yang's words fell, but the girl in front of him looked stunned. It seemed that he had never heard of the so-called teacher. In a pair of beautiful eyes, he couldn't help showing a look of confusion. Seeing this, the scarlet color in Xiao Yang's eyes also quickly faded. A face became surprised because of the appearance of the girl in front of him, and gradually became indifferent. Finally, Xiao Yang shook his head with a lost face, took a deep breath, released Zana in front of him with both hands, and whispered in an uncontrollable voice, "Oh, thank you for letting me see Zana again, but fake. It's fake after all. It can't be true. Goodbye." "Brother Xiao Yang, what are you talking about? Why didn't Zana understand a word?" After pushing Zana away, Xiao Yang wants to leave. However, Zana beside him seems to have no knowledge of it. He quickly hugs Xiao Yang's arm and has a beautiful face. At the moment, it is also full of moving expressions that I still feel sorry for. However, Xiao Yang is indifferent. I just wanted to push away the person in my hand, but at this moment, suddenly, in the void on one side, there was another shadow flashing rapidly. One took the lead in pulling away the Zana holding Xiao Yang at the moment. Immediately, when Xiao Yang regained his mind, he grabbed Xiao Yang's arm and wanted to take it in a certain direction. At the same time, the familiar voice full of kindness in his mouth also came into Xiao Yang's ears. "Husband, hurry up. These guys are fake. Zana and I accidentally entered here before January. She is likely to face the same danger now. We must find her quickly." The voice of anxious words came into Xiao Yang's ears. Suddenly, the expression on Xiao Yang's face was stunned. Listening to this voice, it was color scale. In the cloud-shrouded world, Xiao Yang's body stood in the void like Mount Tai. He was indifferent to the beautiful things in front of him. "Husband, go quickly. Zana doesn't know where she is now. We must find her as soon as possible." A look of anxiety appeared on the beautiful cheeks of the colorful scales. The snow-white jade arms like lotus roots were exposed in the air. The soft jade hands tightly grasped Xiao Yang's wrist and tried their best to take Xiao Yang away from here. As for Xiao Yang at the moment, he looked indifferent in a pair of painted black pupils, but his eyes still couldn't help sweeping over the familiar delicate body in front of him. Immediately, he slowly took a deep breath, gently shook his head, and said slowly in a flat and firm tone, "Let go, you're not a color scale." As soon as he said this, the action of the beautiful creature in front of him suddenly stagnated. After a few breaths, he slowly released the jade hand holding Xiao Yang's wrist. Then, the surrounding clouds quickly condensed on the color scale. In the twinkling of an eye, the figure in front of Xiao Yang turned into a fuzzy figure whose face could not be seen clearly. At the same time, the voice of a slightly indifferent strange woman also spit out from the latter's mouth. "How did you find out?" As soon as he said this, Xiao Yang was suddenly surprised in his heart, and his face could not help but change for a moment. A surprised color burst into a pair of dark pupils. His eyes stared at the fog in front of him, which looked like a human, and the horror in his heart was even more unimaginable. This array gave birth to wisdom." After the good film was carved, Xiao Yang opened his mouth in a deep voice with a surprised look, and his tone was dignified. "In the face of such appalling things, I'm afraid no one can maintain a stable state of mind. He has heard of fighting skills to turn the spirit, but he has never heard of an array that can turn the spirit. If that's the case, if the guy in front of him wants to attack him, isn't he dangerous?" When Xiao Yang's words came out, the milky cloud stirred slightly and immediately became silent. But immediately, there was another inexplicable smile in the cloud. At the same time, The strange and indifferent woman's voice came out again. Maybe. Hiss. Hearing this ambiguous answer, under the black robe, Xiao Yan immediately couldn't help taking a breath. His frown, which was already wrinkled, was tightly screwed up at the moment. The dignified meaning in his heart didn't reduce a penny. After all, whether the other party is the spirit of this array or not, I'm afraid he won't have any difficulty in dealing with him. His thoughts were fruitless. Xiao Yang had to take back his mind reluctantly. He took a deep breath with a slightly heavy breath, his eyelids were slightly low, and the essence light flowed in the depths of a pair of dark pupils. Soon, he looked at the cloud in front of him, paused slightly, but a smile was aroused in the corners of his mouth, saying, "The reason why I can recognize you is false, because Kaylin won't call me husband at all. She always calls me by my name." As soon as Xiao Yang said this, the milky white figure in front of him couldn't help but fluctuate a little. Immediately, there was a light smile from the figure, which seemed to be self-mockery and also seemed to represent the original. Seeing this, Xiao Yang can't help frowning and thinking. The fighting spirit in the cyclone in his body also flows quietly at this moment, ready to deal with the strange array in front of him. "Don't be nervous, you can get out of here." It seemed that he noticed the fluctuation of fighting spirit in Xiao Yang's body. A faint female voice came out of the clouds in front of him, but in Xiao Yang's eyes, he couldn't help but coagulate slightly. However, when the female voice fell, sure enough, the clouds in the space in front of Xiao Yang quickly spread to both sides as if he had received an order at this moment. In front of Xiao Yang, an open passage of about 2 meters was given up. Seeing this, Xiao Yang's eyes couldn't help but look surprised. With a light frown, the soul power diffused out and quickly spread towards the end of the channel in front of him. After the fog dispersed, the diffusion speed of Xiao Yang's soul power seemed to speed up a lot in the formless. Sure enough, it took only a few breaths. The soul power diffused by Xiao Yang quickly found the exit of this array that he had previously perceived. When he found the exit of the array, Xiao Yang was stunned. Unexpectedly, the array would take the initiative to let him leave the array. It's really strange. You really let me go. I don't believe you, as the spirit of the array, can do such disobedience. The voice hesitated for a moment. Xiao Yang couldn't help asking after all. Smell speech, in front of this cloud, but can't help but get a burst of silence. Immediately after that, the giggling laughter came out quickly. Cluck, cluck, why, are you afraid I'm designing to harm you? Since I'm the spirit of the array, if I want to deal with you, I can shoot you directly. Why bother? Isn't it boring? Of course, if you don't want to leave, I can let you stay forever. In the end, the tone was so cold that people couldn't help feeling cold. Suddenly, even Xiao Yang couldn't help being cold in his heart, but after thinking about it in his heart, he finally raised his feet carefully and walked slowly towards the end of the channel in front of him. After walking 100 steps away, Xiao Yang looked back behind his eyes. The scattered clouds gradually filled the air, so that Xiao Yang at the moment had no way back. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang's face changed again, but after all, he was still helpless to start. While the soul power spread, he quickly flew away in the direction of the exit. Until Xiao Yang's figure gradually disappeared in the clouds. Somewhere in this array, the milky fog gradually condensed, but different from before, this time, there was a beautiful woman in a long skirt. The woman was wearing a long golden dress with various array patterns painted on it, and the most wonderful thing was that those array patterns were still shining brightly. Oh, the spirit of array is really interesting. At the same time, Xiao Yang on the other side saw a shining white light at the end of the channel in front of him. No mistake. This is really the exit. A cry of surprise came out in his heart. Then, Xiao Yang's tenuous step was immediately displayed at his feet. Then the next moment, Xiao Yang appeared in front of the white light. While the smile appeared on his face, his body straightened forward, and then disappeared into the white light in front of him. In the huge hall room surrounded by golden light, bright golden beads were embedded in the annular wall, emitting a gentle golden soft light, which brightened the whole hall. On the ground of the hall, golden lines connect with each other to form a huge array. From time to time, it emits a burst of mysterious light, which makes the bright hall shine incomparably bright. The soft golden light is reflected in the whole space, making the hall look extremely magnificent and eye-catching. I thought it was a magnificent palace. In the hall at the moment, several mysterious passages with the appearance of a space wormhole stand out in the hall, emitting a softer milky white soft light, but the smell emitted from the passage makes people dare not easily underestimate this seemingly soft white light. At this moment, in the channel surrounded by white light, with the white light buzzing and flashing above the channel, a figure was spit out from time to time. At a certain moment, a figure wrapped under a black robe finally rushed out of the channel. Buzzing, buzzing. A low hum sounded, and the light on one of the several channels suddenly flourished. The milky streamer around the channel also fluctuated violently. Immediately after that, a black streamer suddenly burst out like lightning. This person is Xiao Yang, who broke away from that array. At present, Xiao Yang's body suddenly stopped in the void as soon as he saw the golden soft light between the days of the week. At the same time, after Xiao Yang's eyes swept through the hall below, he found that there were many people in the hall. At the moment, with the sudden appearance of Xiao Yang and his terrible speed, he immediately attracted the attention of everyone in the hall. Xiao Yang didn't pay much attention to the surprised eyes. He quickly looked around the whole hall for a week, but he didn't find any trace of Tianying. Even if he couldn't help frowning, he immediately sighed helplessly in his heart. At present, he can only expect that they have left here. Glancing again, Xiao Yang immediately saw the 5 exits in the hall. The exits were in different directions. At the moment, the figures coming out of the channel were flying towards the exits one after another. Seeing this, Xiao Yang once again spread his soul power and quickly spread to the 5 exits. However, for a moment, Xiao Yang had to frown helplessly in his heart. This time, he was not as lucky as when he was in the array. Although his soul power poured into those exits, no matter how Xiao Yang extended, he still couldn't find anything. Damn, it seems that we have to make a choice on the spot. With a dark scold in his heart, Xiao Yang raised his eyes and scanned the 5 exits for a week. Finally, he chose the exit closest to himself. His body moved, and disappeared in the place in an instant in the shocked eyes of the people present. Entering the exit is like what Xiao Yang just detected. There are bare walls on both sides and nothing at all. Although Xiao Yang can't help feeling annoyed, he can think of it. I'm afraid the reason why this place is deliberately designed is to prevent these people with strong soul power from exploring. After sticking to such a boring walk for an hour, Xiao Yang finally stopped in front of a broken stone gate. The stone gate is broken. Behind it, there is a huge stone chamber. At the moment, except for a few worthless medicinal herbs, the others are empty. It is not difficult to imagine that this stone chamber should have been looted. Of course, in addition to these traces left behind, there are still some bloodstains on the ground inside the stone chamber. It seems that the strong man who opened the stone gate paid a great price in order to get the things inside. Seeing these, Xiao Yang's heart moved slightly. Since he saw the first stone chamber, it means that he can find other stone chambers. In this way, he can finally find some rewards for his trip to the ancient ruins. Thinking of this, the corners of Xiao Yang's mouth under his black robe finally slowly aroused a smile. He looked at an intersection at the end of the passage not far in front of him, but he didn't hesitate anymore. He moved his body and flew away quickly. In a twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang has seen more than 10 broken stone doors like that just now, and most of the things in those stone doors are not left, but judging from the smell of some danxiang or medicinal materials left over, the things in them are by no means ordinary. At the same time, with the help of soul power, Xiao Yang can clearly feel that there are some strong array breath on those broken stone gates. It seems that there is a more powerful array seal on each stone gate. To get what behind the stone gate, we must first break the array. Finally, after Xiao Yang walked through dozens of broken stone gates, a complete stone gate finally appeared in front of him, and Xiao Yang's body stopped for this. The stone gate looks the same as other places. The surface of the stone gate is painted with an array pattern. A faint energy wave is spreading out from it to protect the whole stone gate. Seeing this, Xiao Yang smiled. Anyway, he always found a stone chamber. Naturally, he won't have the heart to miss it at the moment. When the mind moved, the soul power suddenly swept out. After slowly approaching the stone gate, he wanted to approach the array pattern on it gently. However, immediately after that, I saw a burst of bright light on the array. After a burst of buzzing sound, a powerful breath suddenly came from the array. Then, at the moment of Xiao Yang's recovery, one blow defeated Xiao Yang's spread soul power. Ah! Xiao Yang couldn't help exclaiming. He didn't expect that this array was so domineering. Just when the energy was close, it would take the initiative to launch a counterattack. Moreover, looking at this power, it was not comparable to the ordinary semi-imperial strong. It's no wonder that among so many stone gates, the only stone gate was intact. But then Xiao Yang smiled again. The array on the stone gate was really beyond his expectation. However, just now it was just an inadvertent temptation, which would lead to the collapse of his body. But next, it's not necessarily. The corners of his mouth under the black robe gradually aroused a sneer. Soon, the palm under Xiao Yang's sleeve robe suddenly clenched into a fist. Soon, his body twisted violently. Then, a heavy fist blasted on the stone gate in front of him. Bang! At that time, with a violent roar, Xiao Yang's body withdrew a few steps backward. Looking at the stone gate, although the upper array still exists, the stone gate has been negatively marked with a conspicuous crack. Hey, you really underestimate this array, but you'd better break it for me. He was slightly surprised and gave a slight smile. Immediately, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly became fierce, and he gave a fierce drink at the bottom of his heart. Then, his body moved suddenly. In the twinkling of an eye, he came to the stone gate, lifted his body up, and then a heavy whip and leg fell on the stone gate in front of him. 8-pole collapse. Boom. Suddenly, the terrible force poured out like the collapse of Mount Tai, and the 8 dark forces broke out layer by layer. With a violent dull sound, Xiao Yang's body stood still. Looking at the stone gate in front of him, the array light on it quickly became dim. At the same time, cracks spread like a spider's web on the whole stone gate, then the huge stone gate collapsed in front of Xiao Yang. After finishing these, Xiao Yang slowly took back his raised right leg. At the same time, his eyes looked at the space behind the stone gate with the collapse of the stone gate. When Xiao Yang's eyes shot into them for a moment, he only saw a dazzling white light. Suddenly, Xiao Yang couldn't help narrowing his eyes until a few breaths later, he slowly looked at the white light in the space. After seeing the white light, Xiao Yang's eyes suddenly showed a surprised and fanatical look. These white lights are miraculous stones. The Spirit Stone, the most fundamental source of the Spirit Coin, is the common currency in the mainland of Wu. At the same time, the Spirit Stone is also one of many cultivation resources. Moreover, compared with the general cultivation resources, the Spirit Stone provides the cultivator with more fighting energy, more pure and even some high-level Spirit Stones. It is enough for the cultivator to swallow the refining directly. The so-called high-level Spirit Stone is a classification of Spirit Stone, which is like the level of martial arts. Spirit Stone is also divided into 4 levels, including low-level Spirit Stone, intermediate Spirit Stone, high-level Spirit Stone and top-grade Spirit Stone. These 4 kinds of Spirit Stones have different levels, and the gap is like the abyss of heaven. The lowest low-level Spirit Stone is the Spirit Coin in Xiao Yang's hands. Because the energy of heaven and earth contained in the low-level Spirit Stone is extremely rare and complex, it is basically like chicken ribs for the real strong. Therefore, the low-level Spirit Stone has been decisively turned into a common currency by the strong on the mainland. As for the intermediate Spirit Stones, most of these Spirit Stones will be held by some powerful sects, and the energy contained in them adds a lot of strength to those forces. Therefore, in comparison, the intermediate Spirit Stones have become the superior cultivation resources that all forces will strive to seize. Of course, in addition, the intermediate Spirit Stone is also an indispensable important material in the hands of all array mags. The support of many high-order arrays needs huge energy. If only relying on manpower, it is difficult to open the array for a long time. At this time, the intermediate Spirit Stone can replace manpower and supplement this part of energy consumption. As for the superior high-grade Spirit Stones, they are extremely rare. Once they appear, they will cause a sensation in the mainland. Whenever someone on the mainland finds a mine where there may be high-level Spirit Stones, it will cause a huge bloody storm in an instant. Countless forces and endless strong people pay the price of their lives in order to get several high-level Spirit Stones. Therefore, we can see how precious the high-level Spirit Stones are. As for the best Spirit Stone that almost exists in the legend, according to the records of the mainland, I'm afraid it hasn't appeared for hundreds of years. That kind of thing is not only rare, but also people's information about it is almost negligible. The known information, except that the best Spirit Stone contains extremely huge energy, no one knows anymore. Before the stone gate, the expression on Xiao Yang's face had completely solidified at the moment of seeing those Spirit Stones. Then, after a few breaths, an uncontrollable color of ecstasy immediately appeared in Xiao Yang's eyes. The expression on his face was red with excitement, and his mouth was open up and down, but also speechless because of his inner excitement. At a glance, the eye is full of a large number of Spirit Stones. No matter what the grade, if this number of Spirit Stones can be taken, it will certainly attract the attention of countless people. However, at the moment, so many Spirit Stones are piled up in front of Xiao Yang. How can it not be exciting? It was not until after the good film was carved that Xiao Yang gradually woke up from the excitement. He quickly looked at the channels on both sides of his eyes and found that no one came. Then he hurried to start and collected all the Spirit Stones in the stone room in front of him. In a twinkling of an eye, the stone chamber, which had been haunted by white light a moment ago, has now become empty, and there is a slightly bleak atmosphere. In this regard, Xiao Yang doesn't care. The surprise in his heart makes Xiao Yang's heart more hot at the moment. Although there are so many spirit stones, Xiao Yang can be sure that with these spirit stones, the strength of his 9 incarnations can be basically solved. I believe that as long as the 9 incarnations can refine these spirit stones, even if they can't reach the 6-star and half Emperor, Xiao Yang is sure that at least most of them can reach the 5-star and half Emperor. If they can do this, Xiao Yang will be satisfied. Of course, it would not be a problem if these spirit stones were used to improve Xiao Yang's strength, but now Xiao Yang has just improved his strength and refined the spirit stones again in a short time, which is not a good thing for Xiao Yang. It's good to be able to improve his strength, but everything should be done step by step. As the saying goes, it's not enough. When things reach the extreme, they will turn against each other. They pursue their own strength too much and force them to refine those spiritual stones. Even if Xiao Yang's strength on the surface is improved, his foundation will be vacant, which is not what Xiao Yang wants to see. The avatar is different. The strength of the avatar only depends on the strength of the noumenon. As long as the strength of the noumenon is strong enough, the strength of the avatar can be promoted to the same state as the noumenon in a short time. Of course, the previous mention is that there must be strong enough heaven and earth energy as support. Obviously, Xiao Yang doesn't have this. What he can expect is that after all these spirit stones in the Naji are consumed, the strength of the incarnation can reach the 5-star and half Emperor, which is enough to prove that this trip is true. After taking back his mind, Xiao Yang looked at the end of the channel. There was another intersection. Xiao Yang also believed that in addition to these spirit stones, this relic would give him a greater surprise. With a slight smile, Xiao Yang raised his hand, pulled down the black robe on his head, and shrouded his whole person under the black robe. Then, Xiao Yang gently touched the ground with his toes, and immediately moved his body, which suddenly turned into a black light, just like lightning. In a twinkling of an eye, he had disappeared at the end of the channel. In the following period of time, the anti-inflammatory speed went around these channels rapidly. The continuous and tortuous channels seemed to have no end. In these processes, Xiao Yang also saw many stone gates that had been broken. Of course, he also saw some semi-imperialist strongmen who were struggling to bombard the stone gate. When those people saw Xiao Yang again, everyone's eyes also showed a look of fear. Xiao Yang's speed gave these people a great shock, but more importantly, it was hostility. They don't want the result of their hard work to smash the stone gate, but it will become others' wedding clothes. Therefore, no matter how they do it, they will leave room in the end. In this regard, Xiao Yang smiled and flew like lightning. Whenever he found a stone gate that no one attacked, he would smash it in the most fierce and domineering way. When this attracted the eyes of everyone, the items in the stone chamber had been included in the ring by Xiao Yang in the twinkling of an eye. For those stunned eyes, Xiao Yang directly chose to ignore them. After several bombardments in succession, several medicinal herbs and pills in the stone gate, regardless of the grade, were crammed into the ring by Xiao Yang. Immediately, his body shape came and went like the wind and quickly disappeared in the vision of a crowd-like sculpture behind him. The shadow of people in the passage is several feet wide. Every 10 feet, there will be a stone gate. Most of them have been forcibly opened under the bombardment of many powerful people. The battle method of the stone gate has been broken, and all kinds of treasures have been looted. Bang! With a violent bang, the heavy stone gate broke, and the stone gate collapsed. Xiao Yang stood in front of the stone gate and looked at all kinds of medicinal materials in the stone chamber in front of him. Xiao Yang's eyes quickly inspected it, but finally took back his eyes slightly disappointed. So far, Xiao Yang doesn't know how long he has been in the ruins. However, according to Xiao Yang's general guess, it may have been 4 or 5 days. In these days, Xiao Yang has broken nearly 100 stone gates, but there is no big harvest except the large number of spirit stones he got for the first time. Now Xiao Yang's most expectation is naturally the soul coagulating fruit and the last 2 herbs left in refining ice elixir. However, after several days of searching, none of them has been found. Casually put away the herbs in the stone chamber. Xiao Yang's body flashed and then disappeared here again. After Xiao Yang left for a moment, in front of the broken stone gate where Xiao Yang had just stood, several human shadows appeared quietly like ghosts. A pair of sharp eyes glanced at the empty stone room at random. Soon, one of the leaders waved a big hand, and then, the bodies of these people quickly chased in the direction of Xiao Yang's disappearance, but in a flash, they had disappeared at the end of the channel. A moment later, Xiao Yang's figure was fixed in front of a stone gate again. Compared with before, the stone gate in front of Xiao Yang is different. The array depicted on it seems more cumbersome, and the smell emitted from it is also solemn. Seeing this, Xiao Yang's face showed a look of expectation. I hope that after opening the stone gate, I can find what I need. Xiao Yang stood in front of the stone gate and slowly moved back half a step. His white palm stretched out his sleeve robe and immediately grasped it tightly. The fighting spirit in his body also gathered in the palm of his hand at this moment. Then, Xiao Yang twisted his body and punched out the stone gate in front. 8-level collapse. A fierce drink came out of his heart. Immediately, Xiao Yang's fist, which was enough to make a 7-star-and-a-half emperor lose his combat power in an instant, hit the stone gate in front of him. Boom! The earth-shaking roar spread in an instant. The mysterious array on the stone gate also emitted a dazzling golden light at this moment. A powerful force suddenly swept between Xiao Yang's fist and the stone gate. The powerful force directly shook Xiao Yang's body back one step. Hiss! This array is really not comparable to the previous arrays, but with the rebound force, it is more than several times that of those arrays. I'm afraid this strength of defense is an 8-star-and-a-half emperor. It's difficult to break it. But, ha. In the end, Xiao Yang's face under the black robe showed a smile. Immediately, his eyes under the black robe quickly raised, his hands turned, and the morale in the palm condensed. Then, his hands fell on the stone gate in front of him. Yellow spring palm, ancient imperial seal. 2 records of heaven-level fighting skills were sent out one after another. On the stone gate in front of him, there were circles of energy ripples spreading rapidly, and the array was shining with golden light at the moment to resist Xiao Yang's 2 palms. 2 days' fighting skills were blocked, and the powerful force immediately rebounded back. Xiao Yang's body couldn't help being shaken back again. However, before the energy ripples on the array in front of him dissipated, Xiao Yang turned his body and hit his right shoulder on the array. Boom, boom. After 5 bombardments in succession, the energy in front of Xiao Yang's array has become weaker and weaker. Circles of energy ripples spread out one after another, like violently boiling water. Until the 7th time, Xiao Yang hit the array with a heavy whip and leg. Just listen to the sound of bang, the light on the array quickly faded. At the same time, the array patterns painted on the stone gate quickly cracked at this moment, and soon the whole stone gate collapsed in front of Xiao Yang. A thick fog of dust rose. Hoo! After finishing these, Xiao Yang couldn't help but breathe out a long breath. Immediately, as soon as he stroked his big sleeve, an invisible strong wind suddenly swept out, sweeping away all the dust and fog blocking his sight. Immediately, when he looked at it, the color in Xiao Yang's eyes lit up. Sure enough, the strength of the array also represented the extraordinary things in it. At the moment, in the stone chamber in front of Xiao Yang's eyes, 5 storage racks are neatly and orderly displayed, which is unmatched by those randomly arranged stone chambers before. On these shelves, there are also many jade boxes in good order, and from the size of the jade box, it is not difficult to see that what is contained in these jade boxes must be pills. Although it's a pill, Xiao Yang was pleasantly surprised that the level of pills in the jade boxes containing pills found by Xiao Yang had reached the level of second-order pills. Therefore, it's not difficult to imagine that among all the jade boxes placed in the stone room at the moment, the quality of pills is the lowest. I'm afraid they are third-order pills, and judging from the number of these jade boxes, there are at least nearly 100 jade boxes here. That is to say, there are at least nearly 100 third-order pills here. There are nearly 100 third-order pills. I'm afraid this is the inside story of the Alliance of Herbalists. That's all. Tut. This time, I really made a lot of money. At the same time, under the black robe, in a pair of painted black eyes, a cold light flashed at this moment. At the same time, in the passage outside the stone chamber, several figures came quietly and quickly approached the stone chamber. In the stone room, before Xiao Yang came to the 5 shelves, he thought. All the jade boxes on the shelves were received by Xiao Yang in the twinkling of an eye. At this time, 5 figures appeared in front of the stone chamber. Ha, thank you for collecting so many treasures for us. In return, we will collect your life as quickly as possible. This video will end here.